This is the location for the Bike Tune Day. We're going to be in the parking lot. When the athletes get here, the student athletes are going to be split into two groups. Riders who are not racing, bikes will be put to the side. We're not going to check them out. If they think they are racing or they are racing, even considering racing, they're in a separate stack. We're not sure exactly where. After we have the riders separated, we'll do stage one on the racing stack. It will be they'll be finished in stage one. After stage one, they'll be stacked in a different area for stage two. Stage two is derailleur shifting and brake check. Stage one is tires and saddles and bars, everything else. So that's going to be the situation here. So this is going to be the system for stage one of our pre-championship check-through. The bikes that are going to be raced will be staged in an area together. There's going to be a checklist. So you'll have the checklist available. The checklist will be taped to the bike only if there's a problem. So no news is good news as it moves through to stage two. So this is stage one. We begin with the cockpit. We begin up front at the headset. So first thing we like to do is bounce it around. Listen for an extra clunking sound, which we have here. So this extra tells us something's loose, but we don't quite know what. So grab the front brake, rock it back and forth, and you feel a clunking. I can feel a clunking, a resonance through the system. Touch, if you feel this clunking, touch at the top bearing here. I can feel movement. Sometimes there's clunking. If you touch down at the stanchion, at the fork, you'll feel it there. If the fork is sloppy. In this case, it's the headset. Okay, so if we're uncomfortable adjusting the headset, we can do that in the second phase. If you haven't done that before, you're going to circle. In this case, headset knocks. It tells us this bike needs a headset adjustment. If you've adjusted headsets before, go ahead and do it. And remember, we're only going to go small amounts. 1/8 of a turn, check. 1/8 of a turn, check. Do not over tighten this. Let's loosen these two, snug this, tighten, and check. The next phase is just to see is the stem aligned. If the stem is good enough, stem's good enough, we're done. If it's slightly off, that's probably how they've ridden all year. Don't worry about it. It doesn't need to be perfect. Stem tight. Grab the front wheel between the knees, grab the handlebar ends, and pull back and forth. In this case, it could move it pretty easily. That stem is too loose. That's the two binder bolts here. Secure these binder bolts. Next we're going to move on to the saddle. For the saddle, we grab the front and back in and pull up and down. There should be no movement. And then we're going to take and twist it with one hand. It really shouldn't move when twisted sideways. You could force it with all your might. That's not what we're saying, but here I can't turn it, so this bolt must be correctly tight. This is a slip-on grip. They're just pressed on. This one I can turn if I put some force on it. It's very common for them to do that. We don't like them to turn. If it's not really loose, and that's the way it is, done. That's good enough for the race. They're used to it, so we can't replace every one. So mark it if you want, but that's done. The next step is to check the security of the binder here. So we're going to get a wrench on that binder bolt and just feel if it's snug. You don't have to kill it. It doesn't have to move, but just put a wrench on it and see if that feels adequately tight. Next, we're going to grab the grip and twist. This is inappropriate. This one's firm. This one doesn't move. That's good. This one is moving. It's even missing a screw here, so this is bad. So this would get fixed, or circle it. Better yet, circle on the checklist that it's a problem. And phase 2 mechanics, we'll get to that. Stage 1 mechanics, end plugs. End plugs were good. It must have end plugs. We'll see that you get some end plugs on the table. Next phase is the wheels and tire. We're going to check the skewer security, then the trueness and tires, and then casing. So first thing, we're going to see if the wheels are properly tight. Here we pull out. You can actually pull gently out. This does not move at all. That must be tight, so that's good. We come to the back. We do the same thing on the back. I put a thumb here. I can pull out easily. With a thumb or a finger, that's moving easily. This one is inappropriately secured. This one needs readjustment. So make sure that's positioned adequately when you're done. Readjust this. Get it tight. Again, one finger movement, that's too loose. Should take the force of your hand. We don't have to kill it, but it does need to be tight. Next, we're going to spin and just see if our wheels are adequately true. This is a disc brake, so it doesn't need to be that true. If it's a rim brake, we don't want it to touch the brake pads of our rim. But we're looking for adequate true, not perfect true. The next step is simply to give it a squeeze. This is not a race check for pressure. Do they have enough pressure to get through the next couple of workouts? This one seems adequate. Race day pressure, we're going to wait until the weekend to worry about that. But we do want an inspection of the casing. Are there cuts all the way around both sides? Are the treads completely worn? We still have some good knobs left on this. This one's adequate. So we're looking as the tire cut, rotted, and just completely wore out knobs. And we're looking that you got adequate pressure for a couple of workouts. If it's really low, we might have a slow leak, so we'll make note of that. We're now moving on to the chain. We want to see, is there adequate lubrication? This one does have some lubrication. It's good enough. Done. You can wipe it off if you want. We are not cleaning chains. This chain doesn't need cleaning. If it does need lubrication, we do have some chain lube, just a slow drop on each roller all the way around. Then we take the rag and we wipe off any excess. So chains can get over oiled. We're trying to avoid that. There's decent lube. We're done. If it needs lube, add some chain lube and then wipe it off. Next, we're going to see that the crank bolts are tight. We'll have a couple of torque wrenches. This is a bolt in the middle, single bolt here in the middle. It's going to be about 40 Newton meters, which is going to be a pretty healthy torque. This one clicked right away. This bolt is at least 40. If it's over 40, the bike hasn't failed, it hasn't blown apart, it's adequate. Done. Shimano uses a double system. This is the Hollowtech 2. There's a bolt on either side, so here we're going to go, there we go, 14 Newton meters. So you do both sides again, just go till it clicks, you're done. So that's the split crank style Shimano Hollowtech. Last thing for stage 1 is check of pedal security. This is a 15 wrench with an external flat. So here it's simply snug. All right, so that was actually a little bit loose there, but just snug. You don't need to kill it. So let's choke up on the wrench. Snug is good enough. You're done. It can also be that the pedal tightens from the back. So right side pedal tightens right. Left side pedal tightens to the left. So remember that. And again, snug is good enough for our pedals. So this bike has finished stage 1. It had some issues. Take the piece of paper. We're going to tape it on. This way, stage 2 mechanics can have an idea of what needs to be done and what to look at. This will be stacked for the stage 2 bike, stage 2 area, and then we can move through those. If a bike has passed stage 1 entirely, and there's no piece of paper, still stack it with stage 2. No news, good news. So no tag, it means it has not had any issues for our stage 1 checks. Stage 2 checks are going to be shifting performance and then braking performance. So shifting performance, we want to see that we have proper index settings. We want to see that we are not pushing up into the spokes. We're dropping down. One click gets you 1 gear. So adequate shifting performance, front and rear. For braking, we want to pull each lever with force. We want to see and feel, would it stop the bike if it's cable or hydraulic? Yes, we're not hitting the handlebars. Yes, that would stop the bike. This would stop the bike. So that's good enough. Get behind the caliper. Do you have enough pad material? Try and estimate the amount of pad material. Enough to get through one more race. It may be wet in Mankato, so circle pads if they're needed. Other than that, if there's a really light rub that's not going to cost them the race, leave it. Just move through the bikes. We have maybe 55, 60 bikes to get through in 90 minutes. So we're going to stick to the system, run it through stage 1, next on to stage 2. So there'll be 2 sets of mechanics. Everyone's going to start on stage 1, then we'll split up, have people run to stage 2, then there'll be a finished area, finished pile for completed bikes. That's going to be the fun on Thursday. We'll see you there.